Hey YouTubers, it's Joe Buddy Platt, and today I'm going to show you how to make a coffee stout using Mr. Beer. So let's go. So a while back, I was with a buddy of mine. We were at a beer festival, and he was telling me how much he loved really dark beers, and he loved stouts and specifically coffee stouts, and we'd tried some really unique coffee stouts, and he wanted to know if I could make him a coffee stout or if I was able to replicate a certain beer. And it got me to think about the whole process, and I thought, well, let me just start with a base, a base stout in the addition of coffee. So that's kind of the principle behind this project here. So I'm just going to take a kit stout. I'm going to use the Mr. Beer St. Patrick's Irish Stout, and I'm going to add coffee. In this take, I'm going to use an instant coffee, and I want to see how this result is, and then maybe in the future I ramp it up more, tweak the coffee bean, tweak the stout, maybe do a milk stout, what have you. But I wanted to do this as kind of a base experiment, so it's going to be real simple. Like, so we're going to use the Mr. Beer kit. If you've never used a Mr. Beer kit before, you can always check out my video about using a Mr. Beer kit, and it's real simple, and we're going to use that as our base, and then we're going to add an instant coffee to it. In the Mr. Beer process, we add this wort, or this malt extract, to water. Instead of water, we're just going to make coffee, and then we're going to basically combine the two together, and then we'll put into our fermenter. So let's start off the process with brewing some coffee. So the first part of the process is fairly simple. We're going to go ahead and brew some coffee. For this Mr. Beer kit, it advises 4 cups of water. So instead of water, we're going to do 4 cups of coffee. This is where personal preference kind of comes in, depending on how strong a coffee you like, what kind of coffee you like. If you want to tweak around with some dark roast or some vanilla roast or what have you, this is a great spot here to experiment with this. I'm just going to use generic coffee, regular strength. Like I said, this is kind of a base experiment, but this is definitely a part of this little project where you could definitely play around with some things. So we're going to let this coffee brew up, and then after that we'll add it to our malt extract. Okay, so we got our coffee brewed. While we were brewing our coffee, I went ahead and sanitized my fermenter and some of the equipment I'll be using. If you have any questions or concern about sanitation, if you're new to the homebrewing thing, you can always check out my video above on sanitation tips for homebrewing. So we've got that sanitized. We've got our coffee in here. After brewing, the ground soaked up a little bit, so I had to add just a little touch here to get us back to 4 quarts, or not 4 quarts, 4 cups of coffee. We're going to heat this up to boil. Helps for sanitation purposes, and also helps us add our malt extract, which is real sticky to this. When working with Mr. Beer, you want to take this can of malt extract, you want to put in hot water because it's real thick, and this will help you get it out. So we've got our coffee heating up here. We're about to boil, and so we're going to add our extract. Open this thing up, and you'll tell, be careful because this is real sticky stuff. So you can see it pours just like molasses. Alright. And you'll want to get a spoon or a spatula, make sure you get all this stuff out, because this is the fermentables that your yeast is going to work with. If you have brewed with Mr. Beer in the past, or decided just to do this project for the first time, Mr. Beer makes available what they call a booster kit. And basically it's a pack of extra fermentable sugars that could add to the beer, and it ends up boosting the body but also the ABV. With the standardized Mr. Beer kits, their beers come out around 3.8 ABV. So these are not high alcoholic beers. Might want to scoop around and get all this stuff out. And we're just going to make sure this gets stirred all together. And once I got everything thoroughly incorporated, we're going to then add into our fermenter, which will have cold water in there to help bring down the wort. So let me get this finished here, and we'll come back, fill up our fermenter, and kind of recap. Okay, so we're kind of toward the end now. We brewed 4 cups of coffee. We took our wort or hop extract, which Mr. Beer gave us, the Irish or the Irish Stout, and we added it to the coffee. Then, after we were done, we brought it to a boil, stirred it all together. After we were done with that, we put it into our fermenter. Per Mr. Beer instructions, and you'll always want to follow those, we already had a gallon of cool water in there. We had the hot wort in there. That helped bring it down. And then we filled up to the 8.5 quart line with more cool water to bring our wort down, or beer before fermentation, down to a temperature that's ready for the yeast. And that's what we're going to do right now, is we're going to add the yeast to this. Mr. Beer kits will always have the yeast under the lid. It's a general purpose ale yeast. If you want it to get a little more specific, or if you have access to homebrew shop, you could buy a stout yeast or a yeast of your choice. But we're just going to add the whole packet in there. Make sure we get all that out. And then we're going to stir this around for 2 reasons. A, to what's called aerate the wort, or that gets oxygen in there, and that gets something for the yeast to work with. And also to kind of mix things around. Now, I believe in the Mr. Beer packet, they might say not to stir. That's simple for beginners, but you'll learn once you brew beer that you want to aerate the wort a little bit. So we got all that in there. And now we're going to put our lid on, and we're going to let this baby ferment. Per Mr. Beer, a minimum of 1 week, but you're probably going to want to let this go more like 2+ weeks. I found with the Mr. Beer kits, the longer you let them ferment, the better the product is. And then after a couple of weeks or so, you'll be ready to bottle. If you're unsure about bottling, I have a video talk you through the bottling process. Also, again, Mr. Beer will always have the instructions in their kit too. In their kit, they'll say at least leave in the bottle for 1 week. Again, I'm going to suggest add another week or 2 after you've bottled your beer to do what it calls condition. And then after a couple of weeks there, so about 4 weeks in total, 4 to 5 weeks in total, you should have a product that you're ready to throw in the refrigerator. And after a day or 2, let it cool down properly, you'll be able to enjoy. So just a quick summation, we took, instead of water with Mr. Beer, we've made coffee and added to our stout to make a coffee stout. Well, I hope you liked this video. And if you did, please subscribe down below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always leave them in the comment section below. And as always, you can contact me on the Twitter page. Until next time, bottoms up.